Включаю. Я вже тут згортаю, так? Тут це треба закрити. Hello. Yes, there is question about Simul. Okay, I will not stream Simul. Today I will show my 3 games against Magnus. But I want to say that I will do Simul in Sunday in 5 p.m. Ukrainian time. It is a charity Simul with idea to support Ukrainian soldiers. So if somebody can support it, please join. Well, so as I explained it before, my first games against Magnus wasn't successfully for me. So after 5 games, score was 4 against 1 in favor of Magnus. But today I will show you our next 3 games, and it was much more successful. So firstly, I played in Tal Memorial, and I was white. So e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, e5, Sveshnikov variation, knight a3, b5, knight d5, bishop e7, takes, c3, theoretical line, bishop g5, played Magnus. Of course, black has many possibilities. For example, castle is possible here. Also, knight e7, it's sharp line, it's possible here, and other moves like rook b8 is possible as well. Well, so Magnus played bishop g5, knight c2, and after knight c2, more or less clear that white are prepared for a4, so black can just ignore this, which did Magnus in the game, or black can try to fight against. So if black wants to fight against a4, very logical looks rook b8 with idea if a4 to take on a4, and then pawn b2 is hanging. So and if g3, castle, h4, this is bishop h6, bishop e3, bishop e6, takes, knight e3. Now knight g4 is positional threat, so black should take. After knight takes e3, b4, and although white is slightly better, but with precise play, black can make draw without any problem. So he played castle, a4, b takes a4, rook takes a4. Another good example which I want to show, because there is typical idea for Sveshnikov variation, bishop e2, castle. Now black has choice. a5 is totally normal move, and if white is attacking, black can defend with knight a7. But also interesting is knight e7, and if a4, also interesting to consider knight c b4, of course, here. But if a4, there is important idea typical to Sveshchikov variation, I mean knight takes d5, e takes d5, b takes a4, pawn b2 is hanging, so knight b4, knight c6 is the threat now, so bishop d7. For black is important to protect a4 pawn, so bishop takes a6. This position looks like better for white because there is idea bishop d3, bishop c2 and attack a4 pawn, but black has a very strong contraplay with queen a5, and if bishop d3, rook takes b4, c takes b4, queen takes b4. Here black has totally enough compensation against exchange, so pawn against exchange, it's enough for equality in this position. Well, so Magnus played castle, a4, b takes a4, a5, main theoretical line, but also other moves possible. So bishop b7 was played in several games, and after bishop c4, knight a5, bishop a2, bishop c6, rook a3, bishop b5. But objectively it's not good. Not because knight e3, because after knight e3, knight b7 with idea knight c5, black has some contraplay, but much stronger for white. Start with h4, and only after bishop h6, knight a3 now. Now black has no time for knight b7 because knight f5 is threat, so white is clearly better. And important that, of course, black cannot take because queen h5, and after queen g5, not queen takes h4 because the mate, but just rook takes h4 is winning, and after queen c1, queen d1, and white is winning. So bishop b7, it's this line hardly can be recommended. So a5, bishop c4, and now king h8. Usually rook b8 is, and white has choice between b3 or rook a2. For example, one of theoretical line is here is b3, king h8, knight ce3, g6, h4. Bishop takes h4, g3, and then bishop g5, f4, for example. Takes, bishop h4 check, and now both possible, king d2 or king f1, and also there is same position with rook a2 instead of b3. I mean, here, and again, same idea. So many games was played. Also, you can consider games like Kasimdzhanov, Ivanchuk, Giri Shirov, and many other games. But Carlsen played king h8. Of course, now white can do same. I mean, knight a3, knight e3, and if g6, h4 with same ideas. But I played castle. It's also possible. Rook b8, b3, f5, takes f5, bishop takes f5. So it's quite typical position for Sveshchikov variation. My choice was queen e2, also possible knight e3, of course, and after knight e3, bishop g6. And somewhere black has idea e4 and knight e5. So according to theory, according to games, this is more or less dynamic equality. So I played queen e2, bishop g6. Of course, black has white choice. For example, queen d7 can be considered like alternative. Bishop g6, normal move. Rook d1, and now again black has many reasonable moves. So queen d7 looks like very logical, for example, but e4, it's quite a dubious line, because after e4 I played knight d4, and after knight takes d4, rook takes d4. Of course, black cannot avoid exchange of knights, because knight e6 is unpleasant threat. So now black has a problem, because e4 and a5 pawn are weak. So sometimes black has method to defend a5 pawn. I mean, if queen on d7, black can play bishop d8. But at the moment, black cannot realize this idea, and because queen d7 is not possible, I will take immediately. So my idea is improve pressure against a5 pawn. So queen a2 is can be considered on next move. Of course, white need to follow some tricks like e3 in some moments, but with accurate play, objectively, position it's pretty unpleasant for black. So rook b7 played Magnus. His plan is clear. He trying to attack f2 pawn with rook bf7, but okay, queen e1. Rook bf7, rook a2. So I just defended pawn, and my pawns are defended. All pieces are defended as well, and black has positional problems because a5 and e4 pawns still quite weak. So he played h5. Bishop h4 is harmless because I will play g3, but after h5, knight e3. So rook f4, rook d5, and now black cannot avoid losing the pawn a5. So without obvious blunders, now black positions totally collapsed because they are losing pawn without any compensation. Bishop h6, rook d5, rook f2. So Magnus looking his chance in tactics, but it doesn't work. Bishop e3, of course, he cannot take immediately my rook because of the queen f8 and queen g8. This is just mate. So bishop e3, it's only move, but after intermediate check, intermediate move, bishop h5, queen takes e3. So what can I say? So it looks like a winning position for me because I have pawn up, better bishop, my king is much better. So I was pretty sure that I will win it quite easily. But okay, again, I want to repeat that Magnus is very stubborn player. So and I showed before game when I didn't win with rook up, so now I have only pawn up. Okay, there is difference that I played with rook up, it was blindfold chess, and I was short of time. And now it was classical time control, and I wasn't in any time trouble, so looks like victory in this position must be not difficult for me. But okay, I didn't manage to win. I will try to understand why. Because d5, bishop f1, bishop e8. Okay, I don't know if I'm doing the best moves, but at least quite logical. Queen b8. Just stop it to not giving me b5 immediately, and if I want to support my pawn with queen, okay, so after this e4 pawn will be unblocked, and probably black will have some contraplay. For example, queen c5, queen e5, maybe if b5, e3, now already e2 is threat, so if bishop e2, queen f4, and sudden, okay, bishop f3, so maybe it's just ghost and white is totally winning, but during the game I afraid some kind of complicated. So I played bishop e2, looks like totally normal move. So king g8, and probably also now I could consider queen c5 and then b5 b6 as soon as possible, but okay, probably I was afraid something like bishop f7, b5, queen f4, and then queen c1 check. So I had illusions that I must win easily. So now, okay, it's not like totally clear. Okay, maybe this is winning anyway, but b6, queen c1 check, after king f2, queen f4 check, if bishop f1, e3 is coming. So, but okay, if b7, e2, queen, king h7, and suddenly situation not clear. Suddenly, okay, maybe this is winning for white anyway, queen f2. Yes, but okay, so its line seems me like too complicated. Maybe already I was in small time trouble as well, I don't remember exactly. So I played h3, looks like a reasonable prophylactic move. And bishop b5, and now I have choice, so where to go. I can preserve my bishop from exchange. I can go to queen's endgame. Okay, but both looks tempting. So takes and king f2 looks like excellent winning chances for me, but it's not clearly win yet. So I played bishop g4. So probably I wanted to say that I will have attack against his king, but now my b4 pawn is blocked and not so easy to have progress here. And bishop on c4 is in good position somewhere. It helps black to organize counter attack. But okay, also always question how strong it is. For example, after queen c5, black cannot play this because after queen c8 and queen f5 check, white is winning. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's also not automatically winning about this because I have problem to activate my king and black has idea king f6, king f5, so I'm not pretty sure. But also queen g3 is possible with some ideas to give some check. Okay, so I didn't play queen c5. Okay, maybe queen c5 was possible, so I played this. And queen f2 looks like I am pawn up, I have mating threats, but queen d8, so Magnus is fighting. I have no direct mate, and I have no way how to push b4 pawn immediately. I play queen f7. Okay, maybe it's possible to consider b5, bishop takes b5, queen f5 check, but I don't know if it's clear or not. Maybe it was strong, but so g6 or king h6, queen takes d5. Okay, so queen b6 check, something like this. So it's not clear. So it's well, I played king f7, king h6. So, and if bishop f5, queen g5 is coming, and again not so easy. So this queen e5, g6. He's fighting. So bishop g4. Yes, and so there is something like fortress on the board. So again, some checks. play h4. I don't know if this is really the best plan. Okay, maybe bishop e2. I can play with idea to exchange bishops, but who knows? So I played h4, h5. So also logical idea because I'm opening his king and I will have possibility to give some checks, but number of pawns, I have only 3 pawns on the board, so black has chances for draw. Queen e7, accurate move, so not allow immediate attack. Of course, it's very hard position to defend with black, and not many players would be able to make draw, but Magnus made. So he's just waiting. H7. So I have problem with progress. Some checks. So I'm trying to create something like mutual 6-1, but frankly speaking, I don't know what idea was against King G6. Okay, he played Bishop B3, so Bishop G4. So now none endgame books. Yes, I read a book about pawnless endgames. Quite interesting. Oh, Queen f6. So I improved my bishop, but okay, so it's not guaranteed the win. No, mate. So King e3 I played. So my idea to activate King d4, King e5, but d4 suddenly black has some checks, and okay, maybe it's just ghosts, but so I should take. Okay, I don't know why I didn't take with king here. So what was my problem? So check. Okay, king e5. He can take on c3. So king c5. But okay, what is this? Queen d5, king b6, queen d8 check. So probably this is perpetual check. Maybe not also because of king c6. If queen d5, if queen e5, queen d6, and I am winning. Okay, maybe it works, but it's not obvious line. Okay, we can try to check again. So probably it works. So queen takes c3 also necessary to consider because I have no direct mate, and I cannot take on e4 because bishop d3 check. So queen h6 check also, or queen d6. But queen d6 looks like winning move because because next move I will play queen d4. So probably king takes d4 was already winning. Maybe very likely, but this variation it's not so easy. Queen d8, king c6 probably. This is enough for win, but okay. During the game it wasn't so clear for me. Okay, so I took this pawn. Now not so easy, because if queen takes e4, he has queen d2 check and takes on b4. And now queen e8, queen e5 doesn't win because he's just taken and e3 is coming. So I made some checks. queen h6, and then I played queen c5, but queen d2 check, king f5, queen h6, incredible resource. But what is this? I play queen e5 check. So, okay, probably I can just take and take here and queen g4 to play king somewhere. King d3 or king d5, I don't know, but so according to theory, the best place for black king is somewhere on h2 or h3, but now king on h8, so very likely that this kind of position is winning for white. But during the game, I wasn't pretty sure about this. Maybe this is okay. This is a good idea to check 6 or 7 pieces database. Time trouble, maybe, but okay. So queen takes c4 was possible, but okay, probably here I was sure that okay, I have 2 pawns up. What is problem? And he has no checks. So if queen c6, king d4. So, but queen c1 suddenly, and so more practical decision was queen takes c4. Okay, I'm not sure about time trouble, but of course I was tired more or less because it's move 79 and black has idea queen e1 takes on b4. Okay, objectively it should be winning for white, but I didn't win, so bishop f1 suddenly. What is this? So my pawn is attacked and queen d3 check is threat. And if queen c5, queen b5. If queen e5, queen g3. So I played queen e7 check. Okay, maybe again this is winning. Maybe, but if queen c4, king e5 is my idea. So in some variations, I'm ready to give g2 pawns, exchange bishops, and to play king and pawn against queen and pawn against queen, because as I explained, black king is in bad square. So the best square, according to my knowledge, it's about h2 or h3. But okay, so I played queen e7, and I played this, but now after queen b2, I cannot save, so this is something incredible. I cannot save my b4 pawn, or maybe I can, I don't know, so maybe king c5 was correct immediately. Maybe this is still winning. I don't know. But I play king c4. And now queen a7. And now, yes, now this is problem. So king c4 probably a mistake. Okay, maybe king c5 is still winning. Totally possible. Totally possible that in this moment I made my mistake. Because now I have idea to play queen c4. If queen e5, king b6, so it should be winned. But okay, so I played king c4, and now looks like perpetual check finally. So it's totally incredible. It looks like something magic. So Magnus playing very bad. So went to losing position, but he doesn't lose. So. I don't know if somebody analyzed this endgame. So it's quite incredible game. It's again I was very close to win, but just made draw. Unfortunately for me, and or fortunately for my opponent. Well, but in next game I played Blitz, and finally I was win. It was my first victory against Magnus. I was white, and he played Alech in defense. He takes the sixth line. At the moment, F4 line is very modern, very popular again. Again, yes, because after this knight c6, bishop e3, bishop f5, knight c3, e6, knight f3, bishop e7, bishop e2, castle, f6, takes, queen d2, queen e7, rook d1, rook d8. So old theory was queen c1, e5, d5, knight d4, knight takes d4, e takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop g5, queen a1, bishop c2, rook de1, c5. Now d takes c6 impossible because bishop is hanging, so bishop f2, bishop d2, something like this, and black has good contraplay. But during last time, instead of natural queen c1, king h1 was discovered like more flexible approach for white, this idea to prepare bishop g1 in some moment and probably to play queen c1 in better moments. So, and according to modern theory, white is slightly better here. But also interesting line is g5. It's a rare line. It was played by Lenier Dominguez with black, so it's a good space for players who likes to play non-standard positions. But okay, e takes d6, very solid line. And another very solid line for white is knight f3, of course. And if, for example, takes c6, bishop e2, knight d7, bishop e2, bishop f5, castle, knight d7, knight f3, e6, c4, knight f6, knight h4, and white is slightly better. Also, for example, Alexander Bortnik likes to play this position with black after bishop g6, knight c3, bishop d6 with quite a good results. Okay, of course, after knight f3, black has other options too. For example, bishop g4, bishop e2, e6 is possible. Okay, so I played c4, knight b6, I took on d6, e takes d6. So if c takes d6, according to theory, the best system for white is knight c3, g6, bishop e3, bishop g7, rook c1, castle, and b3, and white is slightly better in this position. If, for example, e5, just take, c5, knight knight d7, because knight d5 is terrible blunder, white has rook d1 and wins the piece. So knight d7 is only move, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4 with idea knight g5 or knight e4, knight d6. According to theory, this endgame is better for white. So e takes d6, knight c3, and bishop e7. Played Magnus, and now white has possibility to play bishop d3, knight g2, and castle. The idea of this development of pieces is avoid a pin. After knight f3, black can play bishop g4 in some moment. So knight c6 looks logical because at the moment white cannot play bishop d3 because his pawn d4 is hanging. But there is an important problem after knight c6. Knight f3 white is playing, and after bishop g4, bishop e2. And it looks like pawn c4 is hanging somehow, but at the moment black cannot take it, because after bishop f3, bishop takes f3, knight takes c4, white is winning. Queen e2. not queen a4. Queen a4 is knight b6, takes, queen d7. This position may be slightly better, but maybe slightly better for white, but more or less acceptable for black. But queen e2 wins immediately. Not everybody knows this trap. So queen e7 only move, because if not queen e7, white will just take a knight, and knight d5. And after queen takes e2, bishop takes e2. Smart capture. And knight is hanging, and pawn c7 is hanging. So black losing exchange, and this position is totally losing. And knight takes d4 doesn't help too, because after this white is piece up. So this is important trap. And another important trap I want to explain that, for example, after knight f3, if bishop g4, bishop e2, black can play bishop e7. But and now if, for example, white play castle, now black can take and knight takes c4. It's possible, but also possible castle. And after d5, takes, knight e5, and black has no problem at all in this position, because my bishop is hanging, my pawn is hanging. So after b3, black just taking and playing bishop f6, or even bishop f6 immediately is possible. Not hurry with knight takes f3, because black has idea knight e5 takes c4, so black has no problem at all. But white doesn't need to play castle automatically. Much better to play d5 immediately. It's important. And now after bishop f3, knight e5, white has bishop e2. Idea to preserve bishop from exchange, and because king on e8, black cannot take on c4. So this losing a piece. It's simple but important variation. So what to play? So castle looks like the most natural. Simply b3. Okay, instead of castle, also bishop f6 is possible to consider, but after bishop f6, white can play bishop d2. Idea to protect knight on c3. Again, black cannot take on c4 because losing of piece. And after castle, b3. This position, it's quite unpleasant for black, because they didn't change his knight against my bishop. So next move will be castle, and maybe not such a big advantage for white, but it's for black is suffering for a long time, so it's important to know. So bishop e7 played Magnus, bishop d3, knight c6, knight g2. It's theoretical line. Of course, black would be happy to play knight b4 and take on d3, but after knight b4, bishop b1, and not possible to take, because queen a4 check, black is losing the piece. And after castle, again, black cannot realize idea with knight b4, because bishop b1, but this is a different reason. Now queen b3 doesn't work, because after d5 all is protected, but here a3, it's very strong. Knight is attacked, and after knight c6, queen d3, black just losing the piece. So bishop f6, bishop e3, castle, and now automatically castle was inaccuracy, because now knight b4 is good. So white cannot play bishop b1, because knight takes c4, and now idea a3 and queen d3 doesn't work, because black can take on e3. So b3, it's very important, and now if knight b4, I have bishop b1, so everything under control. Rook e8, castle, bishop g4, queen d2. So this is what is white dreaming about. So everything under control. White has better center and space advantage, and black has a problem with his knight b6 on c6, and also f3 can be considered like positional threat somehow after because now bishop e3 is defended, so d5 c5, bishop takes e2. Okay, maybe knight c8 is possible immediately, I don't know why. So, but after knight c8, I can consider f3, or maybe even knight f4 is possible immediately. Okay, knight f4, knight c. Okay, maybe f3, bishop h5. Knight f4 immediately doesn't work because rook takes a3, but okay, I can consider something like bishop f2, bishop g6. Okay, probably this was the best try for black to play knight c8 immediately. I don't know, frankly speaking, why Magnus didn't play this. Probably he was if h3 he can take now, because bishop h5, knight f4. He has problem with d5 pawn. After f3 I cannot realize same idea because rook takes e3 is coming. So strange decision, bishop takes e2. Obviously this is concession because now white has two bishops advantage. So this knight e7, black is dreaming for knight f5, but bishop g4. So I not allow rook e2, rook e1. Now knight f5, obviously anti-positional move, but it's not easy to give good advice for black. Probably something like a6 was better. Just try to keep position. So knight f5, but probably in his calculation Magnus missed bishop h6, very important move. And now rook is attacked, and after rook e2 probably he calculated just rook takes a2 and bishop takes d4 is coming, but after knight takes e2 I improved my knight. Okay, maybe the best practical chance was bishop f6 somehow, but anyway white is much better. Even bishop e3 and knight f4 is possible plan, but maybe I can play for direct attack, something like this. But queen f6, it's another concession because now black has no strong bishop. Okay, my d4 pawn is weak, so but I played rook d1 and f3, so everything is protected, and my plan is to improve my knight. So I have knight f4 or knight g3, and black has no counterplay at all. So knight e7, knight g3, rook e1. Bad news for black. There is pin, and rook e5 is coming, so totally losing position. So g3. No reason to hurry. King f2, so I am not hurry. h4, only now knight h5, so takes, and queen takes c8. Elegant finish, and b7, king g2. So this was my first, but fortunately not a last victory against Magnus. Well, another blitz game which I will show you today, I was black. So queen c2 played Magnus, c5. At the moment, more popular line is castle after a3, takes d5. And if c takes d5, knight e4, it was game Carlsen Kramnik. And if here bishop g5, black can play h6, bishop h4, d takes c4, queen takes c4, b6. Also I played bishop takes f6 here against Wei. And now after queen takes f6, knight f3 I played. It's important because after e3, c5, black can equalize easily. So knight f3, and after knight f3, it's not so easy to have equality for black. You can see my game against Wei Yi. I was white. So bishop g5 is possible. Also knight f3 is possible. Line d takes c4 and b6 again. Now bishop g5, bishop a6, a lot of theory. Okay, so c5 I played with black, d takes c5, castle, and now knight f3. Main theoretical line is knight f3 over e3 is stopping c5. Here, okay, if e3 c5, if c takes d5, c takes d4, and this is equal position. Black can take on d5 immediately. Also possible to consider rook d8 even. But if knight f3, if now c5, I just take, and now I can take with queen with obvious advantage. If you mean this moment, so this is I wanted to explain. Okay, so this moment. So now knight f3, it's stronger than e3. So after knight f3, Wei Yi played d takes c4, queen takes c4, knight c6, something like this. But objectively, it's not totally enough for the equality. Well, so also b5 is an interesting line. But it's another story. Okay, so I played c5, d takes c5, castle, and now according to theory, main line is a3, of course. And after bishop takes c5, knight f3, and after knight c6, bishop f4 or bishop g5 is possible. Or if also b6 is possible line, and now white has several choices. I played the bishop f4 here with idea rook d1. So I have practice in this position, also with white, for example, against Zvyagintsev, also with black, for example, against Bareev. For example, against Bareev, I played with black bishop b4, rook d1, knight c6, and now after e4, there is important trick for black. Knight e7 is the best move here. And idea that knight will go to g6 before knight g6 is prepared. So it's important to know if somebody wants to play this line. But okay, knight f3 played Magnus. It's another theoretical line, knight a6, but now he played a3. It's totally harmless move. Main theory is g3 now. So bishop d2, it's harmless as well, because after knight takes c5, a3 takes. Not b6. b6 is dangerous somehow because white has knight g5 and some threats. So after rook e8 is possible, but now white has even such ideas, something like this. So much easier to play knight ce4, and black has no problem at all. For example, this e4 d6 position is totally equal. But g3, it's principal line, so at the moment knight takes c5, bishop g2, knight ce4, and now if bishop d2, black can just take and play rook b8 to prepare b6 and bishop b7, it's equal position. If castle, black has idea to take and play queen c7, pawn is attacked after knight d4, d5, and till now nobody demonstrated the way to advantage for white here. Yuri Kravoruchko played this line with black, for example, and many games was played. But okay, so Magnus play a3, it's totally harmless line, e3, b6, bishop e2, I played d5. Of course, it's not only move, black can play bishop b7, black can play bishop a6 as well, black can play a5 also. But okay, d5, it looks like totally solid. It was blitz, so bishop a6, white has no bishops, two bishops advantage anymore, so takes castle. Rook c8, so black pieces are active, so it's difficult to imagine that in this position I will have problem, even if in blitz. Okay, so I'm not Wolves, but it's Magnus. If you are playing with Magnus, I am not recommend to relax. So you need to be ready to fight till the end, even if you have good, fantastic position. So the game not finished, you need to fight. So knight b3, of course, black has other moves, for example. Knight e4 is possible, queen f6 is possible. So objectively, black is not worse. Maybe even slightly better because black pieces looks like a little bit more active than white ones. Okay, I played knight b3, rook d1, knight takes d2. Okay, I decide just simplify position. I don't know why I didn't play rook c2 active move. So probably I was afraid something. What I could afraid. So probably I was afraid something like queen d3, rook takes b2, bishop c3. My rook is attacked. I cannot take on c3 because of pin. If knight c5, queen d4 is coming, so rook a2, and now bishop takes g7. So something like this. That's true that it can be dangerous for black, but after queen d3 I can take on d2, and now position is totally equal. So queen takes c2, knight takes f1, or rook d2, rook takes d2. So it's totally equal position. So rook c2 was possible, but I didn't play it. I took. So my position is totally safe. Queen c7. Of course, queen e7 was possible as well. But probably knight b3 and knight takes d2 wasn't the best. Probably here, objectively, I should play more actively. For example, knight f6. Why not? Immediately attack pawn, and now white need to be precise. If knight d4, I have e5 or knight f4 in some moment. So if b4, okay, so I can penetrate into c3. So queen f6 was more in spirit of positions than knight b3 and knight takes d2 especially. But okay, so probably I just relaxed after successful opening, and okay, against Magnus it's hardly good idea to relax during the game. So I played knight b3, but okay, objectively position is totally equal. Or only now maybe queen e7 is more precise with idea not allow knight d4, knight b5 in some variation with tempi. So probably queen e7 is more precise. Okay, I played queen c7, rook fd1, h6. Okay. H6 I played to have a window for my king. It's totally possible, but surely it's not totally necessary. For example, queen b7 was a reasonable idea. But okay, now knight d4. If a6, knight f5, so something like this. If rook d8, e4. So at least white can try something. So I played h6, knight d4. So it's not easy now. Objectively maybe equal, but okay, white has ideas. Knight b5 or knight f5. So it's not so easy anymore. Queen c4. I want to simplify the position. Probably if I wanted to play queen c4, was more precise to play immediately queen c4 without h6, not wait knight d4. But okay, so e4 now. Queen takes, knight e7 played. So I allow it to penetrate with rook on d7. Maybe knight f6 was possible, but after f3, my knight is passive, and white has planned knight c3, try to improve his position. Nothing terrible for black, but it's pretty unpleasant. So I played knight e7. Of course, knight c6 is my idea, and knight e5 probably, but rook d7 now. Knight c6, f4, rook fd8, knight c3. So I took on d7. Why? I don't know. So now I'm looking at position. So king f8 looks like very natural move, and I don't know why I didn't play this. So just a moment. Rook fd8, yes. Rook d7, knights. After knight c6 also rook c1 is possible to consider, but rook c1 doesn't work because knight e5, and if rook takes a7, rook takes c1, and rook d8 is possible. So it was one of my ideas. Now f4 is only move, and obviously only black can play for a win. F4, knight c6, black winning a piece, and then rook d1, rook c1. So this was my idea, but Magnus played f4. So rook fd8 again looks like everything is fine, but why I played rook takes d7? Difficult to explain. King f8 looks like very natural move to prepare king e8, and what was my fear in this position, I have no idea, even in blitz. Okay, so maybe knight b5, I was afraid if king e8, maybe take, rook c1, something like this. Okay, but now knight d4 is coming. This is rubbish. So why I didn't play king f8? Very difficult to explain. Merhaba, merhaba. Çok teşekkürler. King f8. So king f8 looks like totally enough for draw, because I don't see how white can prevent king e8, and then I will exchange all rooks, and it should be easy draw. But I took and played knight a5. So this. Okay, now material is even, but obviously white pieces are more active. So knight d6 immediately. Rook takes f7, of course, was not possible because rook c1 check. So now life looks not so easy for black anymore. King g3, I made some checks, knight d3, so I'm already pawn down, and white has threats. Maybe I can play this, I don't know, but f5. So this takes, and very dangerous. Okay, maybe I'm not losing after g5. Maybe. Okay, so knight e1 maybe was possible. For example, if check and knight e5, I have king h5, so maybe it was possible, but obviously looks pretty dangerous for black. So I played rook c3. This. Fortunately for me, this is not mate, because after rook f8 check, I have knight f6. So g3, rook f7, and again not so easy. I have even pawn up, but problem with g7 pawn. So this. And now I'm thinking about g5. Is it possible or not? Maybe it was possible. But g5, knight g4, not knight d7, of course, because g4 and mate from h2. But knight g4 is winning. I'm losing my knight, so king h3. So I cannot to protect my pawn on g7. This is bad news for me. Okay, maybe I have anyway. If for example h5 and knight g4. Now rook g5 is possible, intermediate move, and then take on g4. Not immediately take, because rook takes h2 and even black wins, but rook g5 is important. So after king h3, looks like I'm in trouble, at least not so easy. Very important that I have no g5. So I played b5. I'm trying to start my contraplay, but now knight d7 or knight g4, double threat. So and game is over. I am losing, but sometimes even Magnus can make mistake in totally winning position. Objectively, black can resign here. But we'll see what happens. So, okay, this was blitz, but okay. So probably in that moment, Magnus relaxed. So he decides that game is finished, that he is winner. Objectively, that's true, but so I'm just playing moves. So looks like position looks like totally hopeless for me, and this is true. So after king h4, I have no chances for survive, because f6 is coming or g5 is coming if rook a6. So it's totally winning. But Magnus played king f6, and suddenly after king h6, okay, maybe white has possibility play for a win, but at least it is not easy. So I'm not sure if this is winning position. So king f6, it's big oversleep from Magnus, especially from practical point of view. So after king h6, he played knight f8, rook a6, king f7, rook a4. And suddenly he cannot defend his pawn, and this is enough for a draw. So in these 3 games, I was lucky to win +1. So I won 1 game with 2 draws. Okay, so for today I will finish my report. I will continue to show my games against Magnus and against other strong players. And okay, now I will take break, and I will give information about charity simul in Sunday in 5 o'clock p.m. Ukrainian time. So please follow it, or if somebody can, if somebody want to support Ukrainian army, please join it. Okay, thanks for your attention.